Well, welcome everybody. I'm excited to be joined here with Jeff Bush for this exciting webinar on successful direct marketing for car dealers. We're just getting the webinar started, so go ahead and comment with the city and state that you are joining in from. And if you represent a specific brand of vehicle or car dealership, we'd sure love to know who's joining us today. So go ahead and comment in the chat section. And as we're getting started here, I'm going to have Jeff Bush, our featured panelist today, talk a little bit more about Overflow Works marketing. Jeff?
So Overflow Works, we're a full-service direct marketing agency. We do a lot of direct mail, email marketing, digital marketing for car dealers around the country. This is just a picture of our mail shop. So we own all of our own equipment. We don't broker our mail out. We print and mail everything ourselves. It goes on our mail truck. We weigh it, drop it off at the post office. So it's kind of nice. We control the entire job. So just some pictures of our facility. If you want to get into the background slide, Dave, I can kind of give a little more background of where we came from. I've been selling advertising to car dealers since I was about 20 years old. Starting at Auto Trader magazine, I used to run around with a camera around my neck with film in it, if you can believe that. I'm dating myself. I take pictures of cars and run ads for dealers and private party. So Auto Trader magazine. And then I went to work for Picture Perfect Promotions, where we had 1,000 car dealers doing service mailers with us. Sold that company to ADP, and then got into doing sales mailers for car dealerships, mainly special finance, bankruptcy mailers, credit score mailers. Did a lot, probably another couple thousand car dealerships, direct mail with special finance, and then some new car direct mail pieces. And then I got out of the direct mail business, owned a mortgage company for 7 years, and spent $200,000 a month on direct mail personally myself to feed my call center for my mortgage company. And then back in '08, I opened up overflowworks.com. So we're doing a lot of mortgage direct mail, a lot of car dealers, and this webinar is going to kind of feature some of our hot new products that are working well, helping dealers sell cars.
Well, people are still streaming in, Jeff. We've got a BMW dealership from beautiful California. We've got a Toyota dealership up in Michigan. So people are just continuing to file in. We'll have people continue to file in as we continue our presentation. But we want this to be a short, just real brief, but very impactful presentation on some of the cool marketing tools that Overflow Works is doing. So, Jeff, let's just jump right into it and talk about targeted data.
Yeah, so doing, tens of millions of mail pieces for car dealers through the years, we found a couple lists that tend to be pretty responsive. And we're mainly going to talk about our lease expiration data, this morning. But this kind of shows you the data by state of how many leases are expiring in the next 6 months, how many people have a loan that they're halfway through the term on their auto loan. They have between 12 and 36 months left on payments on their car, both with bad credit and good credit, and then how many people are discharging a bankruptcy in the last 12 months. Those are kind of the 4 mailing lists that we have the most success with that's for Conquest sales outside of the dealer's database. So if you look at, the state of California, there's 217,000 people with a lease expiring in the next 1 to 6 months. And that's in the whole state. Of course, the dealers are going to want to look at a 10-mile radius, 20-mile radius around the dealership. But this just kind of gives you an idea of the United States and how much data is out there we can mail to. We look at each dealer's, AOI, their area of influence or area of responsibility, their zip codes and pull lists specifically for presentations to the dealers. But this gives you kind of an idea of overall how much data is out there. One thing really unique that we're doing that nobody else is doing in the United States is we're taking the lease expiration data and we're matching it up with year, make, model, and VIN number. So we can actually give you, if you're a Toyota store, we can give you a list of all the Toyota leases expiring around your dealership from vehicles you did not lease, maybe competing dealers' lease expirations, or, I just ran into a situation in Columbus, Ohio, where this gentleman had leased a Honda Odyssey minivan in California, and he moved to Columbus, Ohio, and Lindsay Honda, my big Honda store back there, did a mailing and got this guy to come in to trade out of his Honda minivan. So we find data for leases expiring regardless of where they bought the car, This all comes from the credit bureau, but this slide kind of shows you all the information we get, for the dealership. So we get a cell phone number on some of the data. We get name, address, city, state, zip, how many lease payments they have left, what is their monthly lease payment, home phone number, email address, then the year, make, and model of the car, and the VIN number, which is not shown here. But having all this information, we can do a better job marketing to these people. If they're paying $1,000 a month lease, we can market another luxury vehicle with a similar payment. We can direct mail these people, we can email them, and we can call them. This slide kind of explains the entire program start to finish. This is all about conquesting your competitors' expiring leases, so we can target specific year, makes, and models. It shows you kind of the data and all the information that we can pull together. We also put Kelley Blue Book values on the data. So if a car is held its value and they have 4 lease payments left, there's a good chance there's kind of hidden equity in that vehicle that you can use to get them out of their lease. So it helps to write the letter more specific to each particular, car buyer. This is a sample letter that we got approved through BMW Co-op. We have a lot of BMW dealers on this program, probably more than any other franchise, probably 15 BMW stores using this type of letter. It's approved through BMW and Sierra Co-op. And this is a sample of the envelope. We use a double window 6x9 envelope. So that top window, kind of hard to see on this slide, but it says something like important information about your 2014 Mercedes E-Class lease expiring. So that gets them to open up the envelope. It makes the mail piece a lot more effective, showing that through the window envelope. We've got dealers mailing 3,000 letters, our minimum order, selling 19 cars. So a huge ROI. Figure this dealer's paying us around $1 a letter, so $3,000 to sell 19 cars. The exciting thing is the 19 cars they're selling, they're pulling over BMW, Acura, Lexus, Infiniti, over to the BMW brand. So Conquest sales are always a little more valuable to a dealer. They're willing to pay a little bit more to try to steal a customer from a competitor. So this is definitely a Conquest mailing. And it's really successful for selling new cars, or rather leasing new cars.
Well, Jeff, you did a pretty comprehensive campaign for a Mercedes dealer. Talk a little bit more about some of the variable data that you put into this particular marketing campaign.
Yeah, so this is Walters and Mercedes in Riverside. They're about 20 minutes north of us. Our office is here in Murrieta. It's borderline Temecula, California. But Walters, I think it's like a 50-year-old Mercedes store in Riverside, California. And what we did on this letter, which is kind of unique, is we look at, I think we had 5,000 leases expiring around Riverside. We figure out what these people are paying on their lease payments. So they could be leasing a Honda Accord for $299 a month, or they could be leasing a BMW 7 Series for $1,500 a month. And what we do is we take the data, and depending on how much they're paying on their lease payment is dependent on what cars we're going to show them on the letter. So we own a $500,000 worth of Xerox lasers, so we can change out the photo of the car and the lease payment on every single letter and make it more relevant to the person getting the letter. So this is what I call the advertised car legend. So the top 3 cars you notice are $319 a month, $319 a month, and $359 a month. So anybody that has a lease payment between $299 and say $399, they're going to get those 3 cars, or what's going to get lasered into the letter. So it's payments that that are real similar to what they're paying. And the big thing with the luxury dealers, they're all trying to conquest the less expensive cars. Maybe like, let's take a Honda Accord, a Toyota Camry owner, and let's put them in a Mercedes, put them into a BMW, and let's show them that the payments aren't that much more. So this is a big deal to change out the letter. So this is a sample of the letter when it's all done. And you'll notice the 3 cars in this letter are $709 a month, $949, and $1149 in lease payments. So obviously this letter gets mailed to anybody paying over $700 a month on their lease payment. So this data is really organized by lease payment, the different pictures of the cars. What works really well with direct mail is a good list and a good offer. And the more relevant we can make the offer to the list, the better we do. So it's kind of an example of some, tricky things that we're doing in the data on the letter to just get a better response rate. These dealers mail out 3,000 letters, and probably the national average response rate on car dealer direct mail is less than 0.5% on Conquest direct mail. And sometimes we see as high as 1%, 3,000 letters, 30 phone calls, maybe 20 people coming in, and typically about half the people that show up to the dealership buy a car. So selling 10 cars on a small 3,000 piece mailer.
Well, Jeff, you've obviously delivered results for a lot of different organizations, but BMW has been one of the ones that has continued to come back and reorder again and again and again. What makes this unique piece pull such a great response rate?
Well, I would say that, the brand BMW is obviously hot. I think, top selling luxury car for the last few years in a row. I mean, it's a very popular car. BMW Financial kind of aggressively pushes these low lease payments, so it's very affordable for a luxury car. So I think the fact that the BMW brand and the BMW lease payment and, all the scheduled maintenance being included on a BMW, so they've got a pretty hot product right now, and product does make the mailer work pretty well. So we've got, like I said, around 15 BMW dealers. This BMW of Bridgeport, Connecticut, they've spent about $3,500 a month for the last 16 months in a row. And every month they sell between 10 and 20 extra cars. And what they love about it is pulling the Mercedes Lexus owner over to the BMW brand. So, end your current lease early. This is kind of the basic idea of how to make these letters work.
We've also done some work over there on the East Coast and really crushed it for Kingston Nissan. Talk a little bit more about the lease payment waiver voucher.
Yeah, so this letter is again, it's being mailed to leases expiring, and I believe this Nissan store went after Honda, Toyota, Hyundai, Kia leases that were expiring, so it's real specific. And, we give them $1,000 check to make their final lease payments. It's kind of a lease payment waiver voucher is the big offer. We'll get you out of your lease early. Did you know you can return your lease vehicle to Kingston Nissan even if you didn't buy it here, lease it here, and some real attractive lease payments down there at the bottom.
Yeah, Jeff, we've got a guy by the name of John, who's a marketing director out of Indiana, and he has a question about the difference between letters and postcards and what the pull rate is. And we do have a postcard that you've done. Talk a little bit more about the differences between the two.
So because we're printing sensitive information on the letter, like when their lease payment comes due and how much they're paying for a lease, we typically put that inside of an envelope just because it's kind of private information. And the general rule on direct mail is that letters are double the response of postcards. So 99% of our clients do letters in envelopes. This particular dealer, Helms Bros Mercedes in New York, sometimes they want to feature something a little nicer with a picture of the car bigger. So of course this is a postcard. We digitally print this, so we personalize their name, their year, make, and model right on the postcard. And they're a little bit cheaper, so postcards can work. Typically we push for letters and envelopes, but these can, kind of mix it up and they look kind of nice, big, thick coated stock.
One of the largest Ford dealerships in Michigan has really counted on you guys for a lot of their marketing. Talk a little bit more about this particular piece, Jeff.
Yeah, so Bill Brown Ford's been a client of mine for 3 years. Interesting dealership. I think they sell 700 new Fords a month. Because they're in Michigan, they do a lot of A-plan leasing, employee leasing. So I think these lease payments are assuming that you work for Ford, so they're very low lease payments. So there's about 30,000 leases expiring around Detroit, Livonia, Michigan, and we, mail all of them for around $1 a piece. So this dealer has spent $30,000 in a month mailing this out to all the leases expiring, and they do very well on it. Interesting, this is one of the few car dealerships in the United States that's only open Monday through Friday. They are not open on the weekends, and they're selling 700 cars a month, which is just fascinating to me. But some of their salespeople have worked there for 20 years, and they have very good retention on their sales teams and their managers because they all get to not work weekends, which is interesting.
What about multiple brands on a marketing piece, Jeff?
So Jay Klein is the vice president of sales for the Passport Auto Group back in Maryland, and he's been a client of mine for probably 5 years. And he said, Jeff, I don't care what kind of car they want to buy at the end of their lease. Let's advertise a BMW, a Mini, and a Toyota, and let's just mail this letter out to all the leases expiring. And I don't care which dealership they come to. Let's do an early lease buyout and mail this out. So we've done very well with this. The only challenge with this letter is BMW is probably not thrilled to see their logo alongside of a Toyota logo on the mail piece. So we can't get this approved through co-op. Some dealers care a lot about that. This particular dealer doesn't care. He just says, I want to sell a lot of cars. I don't care what dealership they come to. So this is kind of a different letter, $500 towards buying you out of your lease early. And it's got the customer's name lasered right on the certificate at the bottom. So this has been a real effective mail piece. This Passport Automotive Group has probably spent over $200,000 with me over the last few years doing mailers to the lease expirations.
Well, this Acura dealer was super pleased with the results on this particular piece. Any specific uniqueness about some of the things that you did on this letter versus the other ones?
You know, frankly, to Acura said, Jeff, I've probably done 20 mailers in my lifetime for this Acura store, and none of them have worked. So do something that'll bring some people in. So we came up with all this variable data in this top box, the hidden equity. We show, you know, the car they're driving, what the MSRP was, what Blue Book is on the car, the trade-in allowance, and we show them that there's hidden equity and that their car's worth, in this case, 71% of what they purchased it for. So we can get you into a brand new car for a similar payment. And we had a huge response on this letter for this Acura store. It's the first time I think he ever had success with people coming in off direct mail. Acura is a tough brand and a tough customer, you know, to make work, but we had a lot of success with all this variable data in the letter, all specific about their car. So kind of an interesting mailer with the hidden equity.
Well, this Nissan letter was something, I think it was mailed out directly to past lease customers. Is that true, Jeff, or how'd they use this letter?
Yeah, Fontana Nissan sent me a list of like 1,000 Nissan owners that that had either leased. I think this was something about they had like an extended warranty that they purchased. So they checked the little box that says, please call regarding your conversion credit, $757 with your Sentra. I think we mailed 1,000 pieces and they got like 200 phone calls. So a 20% response rate. So it just shows you the power of a really good list with a really good offer. It's a little vague and it was designed to be that way. Just make the phone ring, make them curious, have them call, light up our phones. And we actually sent this out in a UPS envelope. So it was kind of an expensive mailer, but a 20% response instead of a 0.2, you know, on average. So effective mail piece.
You often say that in direct mail that it should be one offer and one offer only. This particular piece, you allowed two offers to be presented. Talk a little bit more about why you allowed that to take place and what the response rate was.
Well, Steve Lindsay, the general manager of Lindsay Honda Acura, another guy that's been a client of mine for 5 years, you know, he owns both stores. And so he says, hey, I don't know who's in the market for a Honda, who's in the market for more of a luxury vehicle, an Acura. Let's just mail everybody and give them a choice. And again, I don't care which store they go to, they're right next door to each other. So early lease termination, you know, get out of your lease early. Part of the reason there's two offers on this letter is because the Attorney General of the state of Ohio started coming down on car dealers for direct mail. So their attorney got involved in this letter and kind of rewrote it and to make it 100% compliant legal for the state of Ohio. So it was it's kind of a different looking letter. But again, we just mail it to a 30-mile radius around Columbus, Ohio. Anybody with a lease expiring, come lease a new Honda, lease a new Acura. Very effective mailer. He's probably done this 10 or 15 times with me.
Well, I know that a lot of the Lexus dealerships around the country really pushed the December to Remember events. Talk a little bit more about how you were able to maybe use direct mail in conjunction with some of the radio and TV ads that they do to get a great response rate.
Yeah, so obviously Lexus December to Remember. A lot of times Lexus will come out with like $1,000 or $2,000, what they call Conquest cash. So you know, if you're driving a competitor's vehicle, if you're driving a BMW or a Mercedes and you're in a lease, Lexus will give you, the factory will give you $1,000 or $2,000 towards making your final lease payments. So this mailer was all designed around December to Remember, Conquest Cash, End Your Luxury Lease Early. And I believe we pulled, like I said, BMW, Mercedes, Infinity leases and mailed kind of a Christmas card. And I think this went into a red envelope. It was right around Christmas time last year. And this is really effective when the factory's pushing some Conquest money. And the December to Remember sales event, a big time of year for Lexus stores to lease a lot of new cars. We've done, BMW is probably my number one franchise, but Lexus is probably number two. So Ray Catino Lexus in Jersey. Again, our letter says, hey, our records indicate you have 5 lease payments left of $499 a month. So we can pay that, $2,500 to get you out of your lease early and put you in a brand new Lexus. So it's been a very effective mailer for Lexus. And I think they own a whole dealer group back in New Jersey. So.
Anything specific about this early lease termination offer, Jeff?
This is another one that would probably make BMW factory cringe as I look at it. Herb Chambers Automotive Group, a lot of people have heard of them, very big, aggressive dealer in Boston area. This is kind of their flagship BMW store, but it's interesting. At BMW, Herb Chambers, all the salespeople are allowed to sell all the brands that they have. So you'll notice this mailer's got, I think it has Lambo and Land Rover and Bentley and Rolls Royce. So we basically said, hey, we know you have a lease expiring on your car. We'd love for you to come down and lease a new BMW. But if you want a Maserati or a Jag or a Toyota, our salespeople can sell you any car that you want. So when these calls came in, the salespeople just kind of could pull inventory from all the different dealerships. So Melissa Steffi is the general manager there, and she's done really well. In fact, they just signed an order with us yesterday, a new order that's going to mail out here in the next week. So again, 3-4-year-old client of ours, very happy. The BMW Happier New Year event, we kind of tied in what the factory was doing last year, I believe, between November and January. And you can see BMW is offering $2,000 to get out of your lease early. So whenever the factory comes out with Conquest Cash, Ford has the early bird program. It's a great tie-in to when the factory's offering something that you can give these customers to motivate them in to buy. It's great.
Well, Jeff, I know a lot of your clients really appreciate the matchback reports. Talk a little bit more about what you're providing there.
So we mailed 3,600 mailers for Lexus of Warwick, and what we tell dealers is, listen, send us a list of every car you sold from the time the mailer went out for like 2 weeks, and we'll do what we call a matchback report, and we'll show you exactly how many cars you sold off the mailer, so there's no questions about it. A lot of times these people call, a lot of times they come in, but sometimes they just walk in without the letter. Especially in the luxury world, they're not carrying this letter with them. So it's hard to track direct mail and how well it's working. But if we say, hey, you sold, 50 cars over this 2-week period, and here's how many were on our mailing list, we can show them exactly how many cars they sold. We can actually calculate the gross profit. We can show what kind of car they traded in. The more information you give us out of your database on car sales and what the trade was, the better we can report back to you what your ROI was, how many cars you sold. Here's a Honda store in Pennsylvania, same type of thing. When they bought the car, what they bought, what they traded in. So a pretty powerful report that we offer all of our dealers. If they'll give us the information, we can do a better job reporting back to them.
Jeff, you guys work as a full-service agency, and you guys not only do these really cool direct marketing campaigns, but you also do some really cool internet marketing. You have some website landing pages. Talk a little bit more about some of the web marketing you're doing.
Well, once we have their name and address, we like to multi-channel market to these people. So once we have name and address, we can go get an email address, so we can find them on Facebook, and we can post ads about get out of your lease early and put it right on their Facebook page. We can get their home computer's IP address, wherever they log into the computer and get on the internet. We can start putting, banner ads in front of them. The whole digital marketing, arena has gotten huge for car dealers. So we can send emails, digital banner ads, Facebook, and all those things are pretty inexpensive compared to postage. It all starts with the direct mail, mailing them a letter. But once we have that customer's name and address, we know they're in the market for a car because they only have a few payments left on their lease. We like, multi-channel marketing, and we give a phone list to the dealer, and we encourage the dealers, hey, out of 5,000 people we mailed, we found 500 phone numbers that are not on the do not call list. Your sales team should sit on the phone dialing these people to get them out of their lease and invite them in personally on the phone. That's been really effective for us.
Jeff, a lot of the people that are attending this webinar today are already doing some form of direct mail, or they already have a vendor. Why should they use Overflow Works marketing?
Well, if they have a direct mail vendor that's doing direct mail and that's successful and they're selling 10 or 20 cars every weekend off the mailer, I'd encourage them to keep using them and keep doing it. This is just another direct mail campaign that could increase sales. So pick out a weekend and give us a shot on a mailer for a particular weekend on what we're really skilled at, this lease expiration data. We do a ton of bankruptcy and subprime mailers and pre-approved mailers and credit cards. I've got everything, but to try to help you sell new cars, not too much direct mail works for new car dealers anymore, except mail in your database. It's just a tough group of people to motivate in to buy, good credit lease customers. But this is a very effective mailer, and we'd love to, show you the numbers for your market area, show you our most successful letters, and design something that works for you. This could be something you do, every month. Spend anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 and sell an extra 10 to 30 new cars a month to your competitors' lease expirations. It's a great mailer.
Great. Well, as all of you who have watched this live presentation or the recorded version, you're talking to a superstar marketing guru in the area of direct mail marketing for car dealerships. And if you'd like to know more information and like to give Jeff an opportunity to take a look at some of your business and some of the opportunity in your marketing space, please visit overflowworks.com, and all the contact information is on the website. So Jeff Bush and overflowworks.com, thanks for joining us today. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.